Welcome back to Deep Links. Buckle up, because today we're diving into a topic that nobody really wants to talk about: Femcels, the female version of Incels. Now, I know some people are already clutching their pearls just hearing that, but too bad. We're going all the way into this, and trust me, it's gonna sting for some of you out there. Incels and Femcels are real, and the truth is, they're not the same. While they're both caught in this weird web of rejection and frustration, the game's different for men and women. Let me spell it out for you from the jump. Incels and Femcels are playing two different games because men and women aren't wired the same when it comes to sexual strategy. Men want quantity, we want more women, we want it often, and we're out there hustling to make it happen. Quantity matters for men. The more, the better. That's why you see dudes lining up for whoever will give them a shot. Doesn't mean they'll take just anyone, but the general mindset is, I need to cast a wide net because women aren't chasing me down. Women, on the other hand, they've got a different approach. It's not about quantity for them, it's about quality. They want the best of the best, the top 10%, the alpha males, the high-value guys who've got it all. So when women are sitting there complaining, they're not saying, there are no men. Oh no, they're saying, there are no good men. That's the real difference between Incels and Femcels. One group is starving for any attention, and the other is pissed they can't get the cream of the crop. Now, let's dig into this Femcel thing a little deeper. These women who, by the way, will never admit they're Femcels aren't out here whining that no man is interested in them. No, they're mad that the right men don't want them. And here's the cold, hard truth, ladies, if the men you want aren't lining up to be with you, you've got to ask yourself if you're even worth it. Are you a high-value woman? Because, let's be real for a second. You're out here swiping left on every dude who doesn't fit your fantasy, but at the same time, you've been racking up numbers in your sexual past like it's no big deal. And now you expect a high-value man to take you seriously? That's not how the game works. You want a high-value man, right? The kind of guy who's got his life together, who's attractive, successful, intelligent, and knows his worth. Well, here's the thing, those men don't want women who've been passed around like a cheap drink at the bar. You think a dude who's got options is going to pick the woman who's been with half the city? Not a chance. He's going to pick someone who's kept her value high, someone who didn't throw away her sexual capital on a string of meaningless flings. High-value men don't want women with high body counts. Sorry, but that's the truth no one's telling you. You see, a lot of women have been sold this lie that they can act like men when it comes to sex and relationships. They're told they can sleep around, have fun, and still be seen as prime material for a serious, high-value guy later on. But let me break it to you, it doesn't work that way. Men and women are not the same. You can't run through a bunch of guys and expect the high-value man of your dreams to just ignore all that. He's not going to. A man with options doesn't want someone who's been everyone's option. That's just a fact. Let's switch gears for a second and talk about feminists. And yeah, we're going there. Feminists are either secret Femcels or future Femcels. Why? Because they're trapped in this psychological whirlpool where they hate men, but at the same time, they want male attention. The more these feminists hate men, the less access they have to high-value men. And it's not like they don't want men, they just don't want the men who are actually interested in them, mainly because the guys they want have zero interest in a man-hating feminist. High-value men don't have time for that kind of drama. They've got options. They're not going to settle for someone who spends all her time raging about the patriarchy and blaming men for all her problems. What do you think happens then? Only the simps you know, those weak guys with no backbone or options, are going to be left willing to put up with that feminist nonsense. So now these feminists are stuck. They wanted high-value men, but those men don't want them. So what do? They take out their frustration on men, complaining that all men are trash, when really, they're just pissed that the men they actually want have zero interest in them. It's a vicious cycle. The more they hate on men, the more they push away the high-quality men they're secretly dying to be with. Then what? They're left with simps, losers, and weak men. And when even those guys start getting tired of the feminist attitude, these women turn around and say, see? All men are idiots. No, sweetheart. You just pushed away all the good ones and are stuck with the bottom of the barrel because you made that choice. It's all a psychological game, and feminists have played themselves. They've convinced themselves that men are the problem, when really, it's their attitude that's sabotaging their chances of finding a high-value guy. And what's even funnier is that these feminists will keep spiraling into their own bitterness and resentment, thinking they're better than every guy that crosses their path. It's a one-way ticket to femceldom, and trust me, they don't even realize it. Now, here's where the real harsh truth comes in. If you're a woman and you want to avoid becoming a femcel, you've got to keep your value high both sexually and mentally. You can't go out there living like there's no tomorrow, jumping from one hookup to the next, and expect high-value men to just fall into your lap. That's not how life works. You want to be with a top-tier man? Well, you've got to be a top-tier woman. And being a top-tier woman doesn't mean just looking good or having a good career. It means knowing your worth, having standards, and not wasting your value on men who aren't worth it. A high-value man will find you, but only if you've kept yourself worth finding. Let me paint you a picture of how this plays out in real life. You've got a girl who, in her early 20s, is living her best life, or so she thinks. She's got a good job, she's hooking up with random guys, going out with her friends, partying, the whole 9 yards. And hey, she's got plenty of guys interested, right? No shortage of attention. Fast forward 10 years. Now she's in her early 30s, and suddenly, things don't look so great. Those random hookups don't feel fulfilling anymore, and she's starting to want something real. A serious relationship. A high-value man. But here's the problem, those high-value men aren't interested in her anymore. Why? Because while she was out there living her best life, she was losing her value. She was giving it away, bit by bit, to guys who didn't matter. And now, when she wants to settle down, those high-value men she's craving, they're choosing younger, less worn-out women. They're choosing women who didn't throw away their value in their 20s. And what's she left with? The same low-quality dude she ignored back then. This is how femcels are born. They've had their chance, but they blew it. Now they're sitting there bitter, angry, and wondering where all the good men went. Here's a newsflash, the good men didn't go anywhere, they're just not interested in you anymore. You missed your shot. And let's talk about those feminists again. Oh boy. These women, especially the loud ones, they're the worst offenders. They scream about how men are the problem, but what they don't realize is that their own attitude is what's driving men away. It's like they think they can shame men into loving them or something. But here's the thing, high-value men don't want a woman who hates men. That's just a fact. So these feminists keep pushing men away, and eventually, they end up bitter, alone, and still screaming into the void about how men are trash. No, honey. You're just trash to men who have options. Here's a little secret, though, if you, as a woman, keep your value high, both mentally and sexually, the right guy will find you. You don't have to go chasing after men. You don't have to settle for a bunch of losers. But you can't expect to get a high-value man if you're not a high-value woman. If you're out there racking up body counts, treating every guy like he's replaceable, and then suddenly deciding you want a high-quality man, you're going to be disappointed. That's just the way the world works. Good men don't want used-up women. It's harsh, but it's the truth. Now, let's be real. If you're a woman and you're listening to this, I know some of you are probably pissed off right now. But I'm just telling you how it is. If you keep your standards high for yourself, the right man will show up. But if you're out here blaming men for all your problems, hopping from one meaningless fling to the next, and then wondering why no good man wants you, well, maybe it's time to look in the mirror. Because the truth is, men haven't changed. You have. You've devalued yourself, and now the men you want don't want you back. That's not their fault. That's on you. So, what's the moral of this story? Simple, if you don't want to end up a femcel, keep your value high. Be smart about who you let into your life, both mentally and sexually. Don't fall for the lies that say you can sleep around with no consequences. Don't buy into the feminist bullshit that tells you men are the problem. Because at the end of the day, the men who are worth having aren't going to put up with any of that. They're looking for high-value women, and if you want to be one, you've got to act like one. Alright, that's all I've got for you today. If you found some hard truths in this episode, and you want more of this no bullshit talk, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. And remember, it's not about whether there are good men out there, it's about whether you're worth a damn to them. Thanks for listening to Deeper Links, and I'll catch you on the next one.